welcome. Today we're going to be doing a little art project, and this art project is based on negative and positive shapes. And the materials that you're going to need for today is you're going to need large white paper. If you don't, this is watercolor paper, but if you don't have large white paper, you could actually go and take some just plain white paper from your printer, and you could use that. We're going to be working with either watercolors, like these are, you can get these at CVS, you can get them at Michael's Craft Store, you might even have them at home. They're just the kids' little cake watercolors. Or you could use markers, any type of markers, Crayola markers, any markers would work. You could use crayons, any type of crayons. I'll show you what it looks like in both, but I'm going to use the watercolors today. Also, you will need a black crayon. Where'd my little black crayon go? A black crayon. And you might need a ruler because you might want to get straighter lines. It might be a little bit hard for some of the smaller kids, but you could have it handy. So what I did was I went around the house and I needed to find objects that were squares, rectangles, circles. And I found that my Tupperware drawer worked really well for like different types of squares, lids, the circles. I found all different types of circles, some big, some small. I went off and took magnets off my refrigerator and got squares and rectangles, the little box to make rectangles. I didn't have any triangle shapes, so I cut one out myself to use, a template, and then like a bigger rectangle I wanted. So once you go around the house and you find all your shapes that you want, you're going to have them, handy nearby so that you could use them. And we're going to start with, I'm going to use the large white paper, and I already started putting some shapes on here. So what you have to do is you're going to put your shapes on, and they should touch or they can overlap. Like if you see, I overlap some of them here, but they should all touch, and try to press heavy with the black crayon. So here, I'm going to add, I'm going to use this, and I'm going to put another circle here. So what you do is put it on your paper, trace around it with your black crayon, pretty heavy, like so. Okay. And you want to keep going throughout till you kind of fill up your whole paper. If you notice, I did some half circles over here. Those are pretty easy to do. You could just take a smaller circle and just go halfway around. And this is where your ruler comes in, because you could just do a straight line through to close it off, like so. And then when you finish that, what we're going to do is we are going to start to color. So first, I think we're going to start with some watercolors. And you should use at least 5 colors. And you could start, painting them in. So I'll paint this triangle pink. You'll find that working with the black crayon and then using watercolors, it's easier to stay in the lines, and the watercolors usually doesn't stick to the black crayon, or because the crayon is wax. I'll just go around, I'll do a quick one for you. You could also use, like, if you have chalks, you could use chalks. You want to make sure you keep the background white, though. We don't want to paint the background. And what you want to do is just go around and try to paint in your lines. So there you have a triangle painted in. Let's see, I'll try a marker. And they should be fairly, like bright colors. Let's see, I'll do. Now, when you get over to a situation where they overlap, like here, this should be one color, because that's creating its own shape. This should be another, and that should be another color because it's showing that, you know, you're in each one another's spaces. So let me see, I'll do this one in the red. And I'm using a marker on this, which I said you could use markers or watercolors or crayons. On maybe the outside, the bigger part, I'll just use watercolors. I'm going to do this in a blue. Trying to go as fast as I can for you. Oh, actually it's coming out green. And don't worry if you kind of slip out of the lines a little. No one has to be perfect. And then I'll take another marker, I think, and do the outer here in a yellow. And you got to try to make sure that those black lines are kind of heavy, the marker lines. So that's how that looks. So you're getting like several different shapes within one. So you want to do all of your shapes in the colors and, you know, keep this part white. And when you're finished, your finished product should look a little like that. So it's the white on the edge, color in the insides. I used about 5 colors. And that is how we're going to make, that's how you're going to make a shape drawing. Thanks for coming. If you have any questions, you can email me, or I'm going to send a worksheet along with it to explain all the step-by-steps for you. Have a good day. Bye.